This is ITV.
Certainly the best.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the ITV News at 1. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has said that the off-cycle governorship elections in Osun and Ekiti states and the Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections scheduled for February 2026 will serve as an important testing ground for the 2027 elections. INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amupiton made this known at the opening of a two-day induction and strategic retreat organized by the Commission. He stressed that while the 2027 general election remained its ultimate goal, it must first successfully navigate several key electoral milestones. According to him, the induction and retreat session was designed to induct newly appointed Commission members and resident electoral commissioners into INEC's institutional framework, administrative structure, communication processes, and ethical standards. He reaffirmed his commitment to delivering elections that are free, fair, credible, transparent, and inclusive as it intensifies institutional preparations towards the 2027 general elections. Rivers State House of Assembly says the impeachment process initiated against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozo Odo, is ongoing and has not been halted, contrary to reports circulating online. The Assembly stated this in a press release issued on Friday and signed by the chairman of the House Committee on Information, Petitions and Complaints, Nemi George. The Assembly said the process, which commenced on Thursday, was being carried out in line with the provisions of the Constitution. According to the Assembly, two separate notices of allegations of gross misconduct have been issued against the governor, the deputy, and forwarded to them by the Speaker of the House, Martin Amaewhule. Allegations include the demolition of the Assembly complex, extra budgetary expenditure, withholding of funds intended for the Assembly Service Commission, and alleged disobedience of a Supreme Court ruling on legislative financial autonomy. The Assembly maintained that it was constitutionally empowered to act in defense of the rule of law and prevent infractions by any public office holder in the state, adding that Rivers lawmakers remained duty-bound in this regard. Meanwhile, a former Ekiti State Governor, Mr. Ayodele Fayose, has said he never anticipated the political rift between Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, cautioning the governor to tread carefully amidst the deepening crisis in the state. Mr. Fayose spoke on Friday during an interview on a cable television program where he reflected on the breakdown of the relationship between Mr. Wike and his political protege, which has plunged the state into prolonged instability. He disclosed that he was present at Governor Fubara's inauguration and had personally advised the governor against falling out with his predecessor. Mr. Fayose's comments come against the backdrop of renewed political tension in Rivers State, despite several reconciliation efforts, including presidential intervention. Justice Emmanuel Subilim of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, Abuja, has issued an order restraining the National Association of Resident Doctors and its members from embarking on the strike scheduled to commence on January 12. Justice Subilim made the order on Friday while ruling on a motion ex parte filed by the Federal Government of Nigeria and the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF. On January 3, NARD announced plans to resume its total indefinite and complete strike, TIX 2.0, from January 12, citing the federal government's failure to implement agreements reached with the association. In a statement issued by its president, Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, the association said the decision was taken at an emergency National Executive Council (INEC) meeting held on January 2. The association said the planned strike was an inevitable consequence of Federal Ministry of Health and the federal government's failure to meet multiple deadlines for implementing the Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) signed with resident doctors. The Taraba state government has temporarily suspended operations at a state-owned specialist hospital. In a directive issued by the Taraba State Ministry of Health and dated January 8, the government cited environmental and safety hazards associated with the construction activities as a reason for suspending hospital operations. According to the letter addressed to the Chief Medical Director, the decision was taken following approval by the state governor, Agbu Kefas, who directed that all activities within the hospital be halted temporarily to allow contractors to carry out their work unhindered and an accelerated pace. The ministry instructed the hospital management to fully comply with the directive and ensure a complete shutdown of services pending the completion of the renovation exercise. A mini truck conveying goods on Friday rammed into two cars on the Otedola Bridge section of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, causing significant damage to the vehicles and disrupting traffic movement. The incident occurred around noon and was reportedly caused by brake failure. According to eyewitnesses, the truck was said to have lost control, veered off its lane and crashed into the vehicles on the bridge. The collision sent a black SUV mounting another vehicle, with both cars sustaining severe damage. Confirming the incident, the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority (LASTMA) said no casualties were recorded as of the time of reporting. Over the years, Otedola Bridge has remained a major accident black spot, witnessing several serious incidents, particularly crashes involving heavy-duty vehicles, including tanker explosions, container falls, and multiple vehicle collision. You're on to the ITV News at 1. More stories after this break. Stay.
ITV, certainly the best.
Many thanks again for rejoining us on the ITV News at 1. The UN Security Council will meet on Monday to discuss Ukraine. A revised schedule showed after Kyiv's mayor urged residents to leave the capital due to mass heating outages caused by Russian strikes. Ukrainian Ambassador Andriy Melnik, in a letter to the Security Council, said the Russian Federation has reached an appalling new level of war crimes and crimes against humanity by its terror against civilians. The Kremlin also confirmed firing Oshnik ballistic missile on Ukraine for the second time since the war began in January 2022. Moscow claims which is equipped with nuclear and conventional warheads is impossible to stop. Ukraine's request for the emergency United Nations Security Council meeting was supported by 6 members, including France, Latvia, Denmark, Greece, Liberia, and the United Kingdom. Music star Davido has expressed that performing to fans back home in Lagos, Nigeria, gives him a different kind of feeling. In a recent confession on X, the father of 5 admitted that though nothing beats performing his 2025 hit song With You, featuring Omah Lay, to live fans across the world, he says it hits differently when he's performing to fans and audience in Lagos, Nigeria. In his words, he said, "Nothing like blasting With You live with all the fans across the world, but it hits differently back home in Lagos." Davido embarked on a tour of Africa with his 2025 album 5 and performed to millions of Africa and hundreds of thousands of Nigerians in different states, including Rivers, Abuja, Lagos, Oyo, and Imo. He rounded off the 5 tour with a performance in Lagos earlier in January. And now to sports. Hosts Morocco booked their place in the semi-finals of the 2025 African Cup of Nations AFCON with a dominant display against Cameroon in Rabat. A goal in each half scored by Brahim Diaz and Ismail Saibari was enough to see off their opponents who really threatened. Diaz tucked home from close range in the 26th minute after Ayub Akabi's flick on from a corner, using his thigh to notch the ball into the net for the 5th goal of the season. Saibari's goal also came from a set piece, firing home a low left-footed drive after picking up a loose ball from a free kick. The Atlas Lions will have a huge home advantage again when they return on Wednesday to play the winner of today's quarterfinal between Nigeria and Algeria. And that's a wrap on the news at 1 on Independent Television. Be sure to join us much later today at 7:30 on the ITV Main News. Good afternoon and thanks for watching.